Congratulations on your winnings.
All right. And hello, everyone. Welcome to Online Presenters, a virtual Toastmasters Club. I'm Sergeant at Arms Sunny Fridge, and today is your day. Guests, please note you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International or completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches if you'd like to join the club. We welcome you. Also, if you have significant experience, you may demonstrate your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by our club members. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world, and we welcome you. Also, if you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it displays your name and role. Hover over your video, right-click, and select Rename. Remember, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. And about those guests from many countries throughout the world, we've already met a few during our meet and greet. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will also be recording the meeting. Your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. And now, please help me welcome to the virtual stage our club president, Marianne Grady. Welcome, Marianne.
Why, hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. This is our last meeting until next year. So we're taking off on the 23rd and the 30th of December, and we're back here on January 6th with a speechathon. So if you've been thinking about giving a speech, that's the one. Come back ready with a speech for the new year. Start it off right. Now, Online Presenters' mission is to serve those who give online presentations professionally or aspire to do so, whether that means public webcasts, live video, or internal company video conferences and screen sharing sessions. So if you do those things, you're in the right place. Now, tonight, we are going to have a workshop on Bluesky. It's a microblogging social media service that is similar to Twitter, but a lot of people think it's better. So New Year's coming, let's learn something new to try out in our own experience. So with that, I'm going to pass it along to our Toastmaster of the day. And for those of you may not know, that is our MC, the person who will guide us through the meeting. And tonight, it's Jim Barber. Put your hands together for Jim.
Thank you, President Marianne. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or happy tomorrow, depending upon where you happen to be located. Welcome to Online Presenters Toastmasters. As Marianne just described, we are a Toastmasters club, but we are different in that we focus primarily on video, on doing virtual presentations. As such, we also place a heavy emphasis on technology. Usually we hold relatively standard Toastmasters meetings. However, so that we can go into technology, dig down deeper into technology, on occasion we will have special educational presentations, and that's what we're doing this evening. Several weeks ago, we had an educational presentation on how to monetize your TEDx talk. And that one was very popular. We had a lot of good responses from that. I think we're going to be having an even more popular topic this evening as we learn about something called Bluesky. So let's get into it. Usage of the social posting website and app Bluesky took off like a rocket in November, as the once obscure alternative to X, formerly known as Twitter, attracted writers, speakers, and influencers looking for a new online home and taking many of their followers with them. Online presenters David F. Carr, who was the club's founding president, will lead a special workshop tonight on why Bluesky is worth creating an account on and exploring. So please help me welcome David Carr.
Hey, thank you, Jim. So actually, Joni Laidlaw, our VP of Education, actually approached me about doing this workshop a little while ago, and I wondered too, well, we're not doing a workshop about online video, we're not doing a workshop on speaking, so how is this relevant to Toastmasters and online presenters? It is relevant to the extent that it is part of the grand digital environment that we are part of, which is always changing. And if you're trying to promote yourself as a speaker, if you're trying to get people to watch the replays of your TED Talk or your Toastmaster speech, you might want to use some of these tools to go out and promote on social media. And so I'm going to take you through a tour of Bluesky. Now, Bluesky is something that I have been obsessing with over several weeks. I'm going to give you some context on that. And this is the actual growth curve of Bluesky, or it was right after the election in the United States. And we'll have to talk a little bit about the political dimension of this along the way. But in early November, Bluesky went from being a pretty obscure social network. I had an account on it that I hadn't logged into in months. And then all of a sudden it started attracting this huge amount of attention. So why was that? What was it that people found interesting about Bluesky? And just to be really clear, Bluesky is a replacement for Twitter, or for X, as the current owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, renamed it. It is the X service. You can switch from Twitter to X, and it's pretty much a one-on-one replacement. It looks very similar. It functions very similar. At least it functions similar to the way Twitter used to work. Which reminds me, blue sky smiling on me. Nothing but blue sky do I see. Bluebirds singing a song. Well, Twitter used to be a happy little bird inviting you to sing your song to the world, to share your thoughts to the world. And it got replaced with this big black X somewhere along the way, which changed the whole character of the service. And it created some pent-up demand for change that was kind of released after the election in the US. This particular graphic is actually from a publication called the Brazilian Report, because there was this political event that happened in the US that drove a lot of people to Bluesky. Before that, there was a political event in Brazil that drove a huge number of people to Bluesky. The government actually banned access to the X service. They were having a dispute with Elon Musk over what accounts would and wouldn't be visible on the service. They wanted certain things to be banned, and Elon says he's a free speech absolutist. He doesn't want to ban anybody. Eventually, they got it worked out. But during the period when people couldn't use X, people who were habitual users of it and wanted a substitute, well, they could have gone to Threads. So Threads is the service created by Meta, which is the owner of Facebook and Instagram. It's called Meta Platforms these days, as in Metaverse. There's a long involved story there about how it went from Facebook to Meta, but that's the corporate name these days. Instagram is extremely popular. very in some places, by some measures, it is bigger than Facebook these days. And Meta has promoted Threads. They've made it somewhat popular. But when push came to shove, when people wanted a substitute for Twitter or for X, they didn't choose Threads. They chose Bluesky. And so why is that? Well, we'll get into it. What is the psychology of that? So who am I to be telling you this? I'm David Carr. I'm the versatile and inventive writer, editor, and digital consultant. I was the original founder of this club, enthusiastic about Toastmasters. I run a web hosting service for Toastmasters Club called Toastmost, which I'd love to talk your ear off about some other time. And before I was in my current job is I am an editor at SimilarWeb. I'm an editor of what they call their insights content, basically the data that they develop about what's happening in the digital world. I've done a lot recently on the growth of Bluesky through my work at SimilarWeb. But before that, I was a technology writer and editor for many years. I wrote a book called Social Collaboration for Dummies, which is about online communities for the workplace. I covered social media extensively. I've talked with a lot of people about what makes social networks work, what makes them grow or not grow. And so this is definitely a very interesting topic to me when something catches on that dramatically, trying to understand what's going on and what it all means. So that's me. And then I wanted to ask a little bit about you. So you should see a poll launching. And so the first question is, do you have a Bluesky account? Is everybody seeing the poll? Is that showing up? Yes, okay. So if you could please please vote on one of these options. Yes, you've got an account, you're actively using it. Yes, you're just starting to noodle around with it. Yes, but I completely lost interest immediately. No, but I'm interested in learning. And we seem to be sort of divided between the people who are yes, but just beginning, and no, but interested. So let's see, how do I go on to the next one? Are all the questions showing up? Oh, okay. I guess all the questions showed up at once. So which of these services do you regularly use? Multiple choice. Number of people are pretty regular users of X, formerly Twitter. We've got quite a lot of Facebook because probably the biggest online community for Toastmasters specifically is the Toastmasters International official members group, and then a lot of districts have their own groups. So if you're active in Toastmasters, you're probably active on Facebook. There also is a group on LinkedIn, which is a bit less active for whatever reason, even though we're a professional organization. But I'm seeing really a minority of people who are currently really active, and I'm asking also about which of these to use occasionally, not too different. And then a few people saw a post about this on LinkedIn. A few people saw a post about this on Facebook, where I tried to make some noise about it. There doesn't seem to be anybody here who saw it on Bluesky. So that's maybe an issue, is that the audience is not necessarily big enough, and the Toastmasters audience is not necessarily big enough for everybody to be able to see something about this event there and immediately sign up. All right. So I was showing a moment ago my LinkedIn profile, and you're welcome to connect with me there or on other services where I'm David F. Carr pretty consistently. Here's David F. Carr on Blue Sky. And again, it looks pretty much like a Twitter clone. We've got a main feed. I can scroll through here. I might see a lot of posts about politics because again, there's this big exodus driven by politics. Elon is considered to be too closely associated with Donald Trump. People who don't like that are migrating away from the service. They're concerned that the actual algorithms that determine what you see on X are driven by some kind of right-wing political agenda. And so you do tend to have more of not necessarily left-wing, but not very Trump-friendly folks who've migrated over to Blue Sky. So I might see a lot of political posts here, but there are some interesting things here also. Well, actually, one thing I should mention is that this main feed is not driven by an elaborate algorithm. There are no ads in it. There's nothing necessarily slanting my experience in one direction or another. Um, there's probably some formulas in play, but it's more or less a straight chronological, most recent post from people I follow is my main feed. Then there's a discovery thing which mixes it up a little bit. That probably is a little bit more algorithmically driven, so you can choose to go there. You can see what's popular with friends in your network. But also, if I'm getting a little bit tired of all the political posts, I need a break. I'm pretty interested in politics, but I need a break from time to time. I might go over to the science feed and learn something about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence is the top post here. And then here's a note about the rules of the science feed. So we're going to ban you if you're posting misinformation. Try and keep things relevant to science. Use alt text, which is particularly relevant for the blind and also for various blind or visually impaired to be able to make sense of images. To give proper credit for things. Anyway, so some ground rules here. Signal boost is supposed to be a feed where we're boosting things that deserve more attention. A lot of times it's people who are raising funds for various charities. And I can customize this list. If I don't like what's turning up in Signal Boost, I can remove that from my personal list. This is people who are pretty much science fiction writers and science fiction fans, and a couple of feeds that are related to WordPress. So anyways, I'm sorry. Those topical feeds are one of the things that do add some variety. If I look at my own profile, you can see some of the things that I've been posting recently, promoting this event, promoting some technical things that I think are interesting. Here's a fun one. Perhaps I misunderstood, and that the Washington Post all along thought that democracy dying in darkness would be a good thing. Some people are annoyed at the Washington Post for various reasons. You can see various views on what I've posted, and then I have created a thing called a starter pack for Toastmasters. And starter packs are an interesting innovation. They're basically a way of helping you to get up to speed quickly in finding the people who you'd like to connect with on the site. And if you'd like to be part of the Toastmasters starter pack, and some of you are on this call are in the Toastmasters starter pack already, just let me know. I'm not being too choosy about it so far. I'm just trying to help us find each other. So that's a little bit on what the experience looks like. I may come back to this later if appropriate. So I'm going to cover what is Blue Sky, and I'm going to cover some of the numbers story because again, that's That's where I've been spending a lot of my time in my day job. I'm going to give a brief history of social media. It's going to leave out some things, but some of the major events that we've seen along the way, and then more recently, how things have evolved to make room for blue sky in the firmament. And we'll talk about politics, trolls, hate speech, banning people, not banning people, banning topics. Um, how does Blue Sky compare, and the idea that it creates better engagement? And we're going to wrap up talking about, will it last? And we are trying to structure this so that we have a little bit of Q&A and then some time for table topics so that you get a little bit of a sense of what this club is like if you're visiting here for the first time. So it doesn't have to be all blue sky straight to the end of the meeting. And you know, there definitely is some of this. The New Yorker's making fun is Blue Sky is the place where people come to talk about being on Blue Sky. And so you will see a lot of posts about, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This is different. They'll talk about how it is different. And a while ago, when another service called Mastodon gained some popularity, there was a lot of that there too. Here's why everybody is going to move from X to Mastodon. Well, that didn't happen. And so we'll see how long this keeps going for Blue Sky, but I think it has potential to keep going for a good long time. So by the numbers. Well, here's a little heart attack that happened for X right after the election. This is people who deactivated their account on X, and this spike is November 6th, where that went to about 115,000 in a day. Now, on the scale of X, that's not that many, but you have to figure out that these are people who are particularly pissed off. They're not just saying, I'm going to use X less. I'm not going to go there anymore. I'm not going to log into it anymore. This is more like, you know, the Saturday Night Live routine about breaking up with a girl, where you don't just tell her that you're breaking up with her. You say, I break with thee, I break with thee, I break with thee, and then you throw dog poop on her shoes. That is really declaring your independence if you're going to go to the problem of deactivating your account, which is the first step towards all your data being deleted. I've talked with a lot of people who have moved away from X, but they keep their handle because they don't want somebody else taking over and pretending to be them. They may go through a process of deleting all their content from X, but they don't actually delete their entire account. And then in parallel with that, this is the rise of Blue Sky. And I'm showing it, you know, if I put it next to X is still far bigger. But compared with Threads, which has been out since about July 2023, suddenly Blue Sky zooms up past. And as I showed you before, the daily ascent was even more dramatic. Now it has leveled out a little bit, and so I think the next increment of growth is going to come harder for the Blue Sky service and the Blue Sky community. And so there was a rush of people coming in. How strong that trend continues remains to be seen. But this is month over month change in web visits, and I'm showing you most of these data is going to be for the U.S. because that's where the effect was most dramatic. So almost 200% month over month increase. Now on the scale of things, this is X, this is Blue Sky. Little bitty site in comparison. If we look by monthly active users of the iOS and Android apps, actually the gap isn't quite as big, but we see that Threads is ahead of Blue Sky. And you know, these are different patterns of interactions. The apps in a lot of ways are what is more important to a social networking service, is they want you to be so addicted to this thing that you have to take it with you everywhere. You have to have it in your pocket and be pulling that out over dinner and ignoring your family. Um, so that's where these social networks want to get to. And of course, X is actually quite a bit smaller than either Instagram or Facebook. But X is kind of the one that these guys are most directly competing with. And even though Blue Sky is behind Threads in the app usage, it's behind by a lot less than it used to be. This is the rapid climb and then sort of a leveling off, even dropping a little bit over here, just by the daily usage. And if you want to see more of all this data, it is available on our website. I'll share that link at the end. But I wanted to try and put some of this in context of where do social networks come from and how do you get there? How does something about this like come out? And I don't know, some of you are old enough to remember dial-up modems and connecting to with the internet, where if you didn't couple things together quite perfectly, you heard this long breach. That was you connecting to the internet on AOL or Prodigy or Genie or CompuServe. It was slow. It was very text based. But there was the beginnings of interactions of special interest groups forming online. Then we had the evolution of blogging. And so some of the early social media was actually people would post to their blogs and they would pay attention to other people posting to their blogs and they would comment on each other's blogs. And they had these tools called RSS readers that allowed you to monitor all of the blogs that you cared about and kind of tie it together. And then at some point, people realized, well, what if we just put this all together in the same platform so that you saw everybody's post in the same place? And so you had LiveJournal was kind of a blogging platform for many different people with a social aspect to it. You had a service called MySpace that at some point was much bigger than Facebook. Fell off the map. LiveJournal also is pretty much a relic of history. I don't know whether it still exists, to be honest with you. Facebook came along in 2004. The first Twitter version was 2006. Then we have Instagram, Pinterest. TikTok didn't come along to 2017. That certainly has become huge. So moving from the mode of being text-based to more centered on images to more centered on video. And I haven't even talked about YouTube in here, but that certainly was evolving at the same time. By the 2010s, Facebook and Instagram are very huge. Twitter is influential, but it always had trouble making money, which is why it eventually got sold. And then content moderation was a huge challenge, especially in election years. So that there was always this question of, was the platform biased towards one party or another? What about hate speech? Now, is there any speech that should be banned? What is the borderline? Should any account be banned, or do we want to have a free and open space? Do we want to have corporate control? Do the billionaires get to decide what gets excluded, or does the community get to decide what gets excluded? And of course, one of the big events that happened around this was the insurrection in the U.S., the attack on the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters. And Trump was banned from both Twitter and Facebook shortly after that. He decided he would start his own social network, this thing called Truth Social, which has kind of grown in obscurity. It is far smaller at this point than Blue Sky, for example, even though Blue Sky is the new kid on the block. But it's, had some interesting things going on in terms of being a meme stock, potentially being a way of funneling money to Trump. Um, and somewhere in here, Blue Sky actually starts as a Twitter project. So it's a skunkworks project within Twitter where a bunch of technologists were trying to create this new protocol. And one of the explicit things that they were trying to do was get out of the business of blocking posts or blocking users, to make that a community function, to distribute that function so that it could be performed by many different people and groups. And while they're working on this, Blue Sky actually spun off as a separate company in 2021. So by the time Elon comes along and buys the company, Blue Sky is independent. For a while, they didn't really have a product out there yet, though. And then these last couple of years, things have been moving fairly quickly. Certainly for Twitter, in 2022, in April, Elon announces this unsolicited bid to take over the company for $44 billion. And people said that was an insane amount of money. At some point, Elon decided that was an insane amount of money. And he tried to back out of the deal, but a court forced him to follow through with it. So in October, he buys Twitter. He announces massive layoffs. He particularly lays off all the people who were responsible for what they called trust and safety, which would be monitoring for hate speech, blocking content, blocking accounts, anything like that. Again, he didn't have Blue Sky around to help, but he wanted to get out of this business of making those content decisions. And there was this other open source platform called Mastodon, which is very interesting. Anybody can sign up to run their own Mastodon server. And so when you sign up for Mastodon, you have to choose which server. And actually, that's what probably confused a lot of regular old consumers who are thinking of finding something new. They didn't know where to go. They got confused, and so they didn't use that.
Well, David,
Yes.
before we get any more into this segment, we're actually supposed to be going into Q&A, and I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat for you.
Joni, I was just about getting ready to take a moment to ask a few of those questions. So
All right.
this is a good time.
We'll take a break. I do have some stuff that I want to cover in the presentation, but we'll come back to it.
Okay. One of the questions was from Joni, actually. She wanted to know if Blue Sky was making money.
I think
No.
that was from Andrew.
Oh.
Andrew, is Blue Sky making money? If yes, roughly how much and how?
As far as I know, they aren't making any money. They have been bringing in new rounds of venture investment. One of the nice things about it is there is no advertising. But then again, advertising is how these services typically make money. They have announced plans to introduce subscriptions where active users will be able to pay to upload longer videos. And actually, they haven't explained what the full plan is. They were saying at some point that they had no plans to add advertising, but more recently they've said, well, maybe we'll have advertising. But some of the stuff that I haven't covered is because of the architecture of the service. If people got annoyed by the advertising or annoyed by other aspects of the platform, they potentially could fork off their own Blue Sky service or their own competing service that would be compatible. And so there's this idea that you'll be able to take your account with you if something better comes along. But if I have a chance, I'll try and cover some of that stuff quickly.
Okay, and Joni did have a question about the monetization for those on the platform. So you can go ahead and continue. I'll check the chat for a few more questions.
All right. I'll try and speed up. among the things in the Elon era that annoyed people was when the blue check on an account, which used to mean that this was the authentic person or the authentic brand, um, that heck, hello, that got replaced by a subscription program, which basically, if you pay us $8, we'll give you a blue check. So it rendered it kind of meaningless, but it raised some money for Elon. Mid 2023, they rebranded as X. Threads launched at that time, attracted a lot of interest, but a lot of it was just based on the fact that if you already had an Instagram account, you could create a Threads account more or less instantly. And so I actually find that I sign into Threads accidentally from time to time because something actually shows up in my Facebook feed or my Instagram feed, and I click on it and I find myself on Threads, and then I immediately leave because there's nothing that much interesting going on there. And there's also a lot of controversy over Elon restoring banned accounts, hate speech accounts, including the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, who was noticeable for saying that the families of the kindergartners who were slaughtered at Sandy Hook by a mass shooter, they were just crisis actors. It was all fake. And so not a very nice person. 2024 in February, Bluesky finally comes out of its invite-only phase. So during some of these other controversies, people couldn't really just waltz in and set up a Bluesky account even if they wanted to. And then just recently, Musk decided that they were going to change the rules for blocking people that you find annoying on the service. And that pissed off a lot of folks. And I started hearing people say, well, as soon as I'm going to stay on Twitter or I'm going to stay on X through the election, these pundits who wanted to make their voice heard on the election, but as soon as the election's over, I'm out of here. And that's essentially what happened immediately after the election. There was sort of this pent-up demand of people who had been planning to leave, and then suddenly they left, and they tended to choose Bluesky over Threads or any other alternative. I thought it was very interesting when this particular guy made the jump. So he's a Reagan Republican, an authority on international relations, now a former Republican because he is very much anti-Trump. But for a long time, Tom Nichols argued that as long as he could block people he found annoying, he thought that it was worth sticking around on Twitter, that it was bigger, that it was better. He hadn't seen anything that was good. Recently, he's been saying, I'm still going to post on X, but Bluesky is where the real conversation happens these days because X is such a cesspool. So when he made the jump, I thought that was significant. Some of this stuff I'm going to have to go through really quickly because I have been rambling on for too long. They have this idea of a stackable moderation system where, again, they want to distribute out the responsibility. Other developers can create their own rules, their own feeds. Within the system, it is pretty easy to block an account. You can also mute either a thread. You can mute certain words. I'm hearing too much about this topic. I'm really sick of it. You can just say, I don't want to hear anything more about Christmas. I hate Christmas, and so you can mute the word Christmas and you won't see any posts that use the word Christmas. You might see some that use Xmas or some synonym, but you won't see any Christmas posts. They have this distributed protocol, and other programmers can come in and build extensions to the system using that protocol. Just how open and distributed all that is, there's some debate among the techies. but you can have custom feeds. I showed you the science feed. Some of these are actually hosted on external service servers, and they have their own programs, their own algorithms deciding what you're going to see on that feed. So that's another way that things can be customized. And you can have integration. So I have an integration active that allows me to show comments on a WordPress blog, and it says, and join the conversation on Bluesky. And so I can take advantage of all the work that they're doing on muting obnoxious people, excluding obnoxious people. Um, and so I can have a more filtered feed of posts than if I just accept comments directly on the blog, because spam is a big problem on blogs. And it is possible to set up a custom handle. So instead of being davidfcarr.bluesky.app, at davidfcarr.com, it's synchronized with my website as a way of authenticating that it's the real me. Starter packs I mentioned. In addition to mine, you can find them for journalists at any publication. And I thought this was very interesting when the New York Times suddenly added a Bluesky sharing link to its site, and noticed that it's ahead of X, and Thread's not on the list at all. And why would the media do that when this is still very small and growing? Well, people are reporting, and I've done some research through SimilarWeb to back this up, that Bluesky is basically punching above its weight. Even though it's relatively small, it's sending a lot of referrals to these news sites, much more than they get from either Twitter, which is somewhat hostile to the media, or Threads, which they actually kind of made the decision that people didn't want to see news in their feeds because it made them unhappy. Which, there might be an argument for that. Maybe that's a reason to choose Threads if you find the news too aggravating. But if you're a publisher trying to attract attention to your news site, it's helpful. And if you can get the press on your side for any digital property you're trying to grow, that can be a gateway to greater growth. All right, and I'm going to stop there with the presentation. And I will just say, in response to the question that came up about the income that they're generating, which is not much right now, that is a cause for concern, because if you're going to invest time in building up a presence on this service, you might like it to not go bankrupt. It might be good if they had a business plan. Well, they have a business plan, they're working on it, but we don't know yet that business plan is going to work. Probably subscriptions alone won't be enough, but I don't know. Maybe several tiers of subscriptions. Maybe if people are sufficiently engaged and attracted to this service, maybe Bluesky will make good money off the subscriptions. Maybe they'll figure out a way of doing advertising. Although, again, the CEO said that one problem with that is because we have this glorious open architecture, if we're running ads, that doesn't necessarily mean that every user sees the ads. They could build their own custom Bluesky client, or somebody could market a custom Bluesky client that gives you ad-free Bluesky. So if you're a company trying to make money off of it, maybe that's not a good thing. But in principle, the openness creates a lot of interesting opportunities. Maybe there will be shopping on Bluesky. Maybe there'll be shopping channels, and they'll be able to make money that way. But it is something that I think is at an interesting phase for getting involved in and exploring. It's not necessarily a sure thing that it's going to stick around. All right, with that, I better take some questions, and then we
Okay.
promise we'd reserve some time for table topics.
David, Asil asked, she may have missed it, but are there differences between X and Bluesky that you haven't mentioned?
That I haven't mentioned.
Or that you
but-
could even reiterate. She came in, she may have missed it.
Well, part of it again is that it does have this model of being open and extensible by other web developers, where they're volunteer open web developers. And I haven't worked directly with the protocols, but there's somebody who wrote this plugin for featuring comments on your site and also for automatically sharing to X. And so I'm trying to come up with an extension to that that would allow, say, we do have an online presenters account on Bluesky, and to have it automatically post a promotion for our next event a few days before the event is happening, so that we can maybe get some people to come in here from Bluesky. So I think that kind of customization is very interesting. But a lot of it is really just getting away from the Elon Musk ownership. That's been a lot of the attraction to it.
Okay, and David, if you can put the name of your channel in the chat, that would be great for one of our guests, Anur.
Okay.
All righty. There are a couple other questions in the chat. Do you have time for it, Joni?
Yeah, if you
Joni had one. She
let's
had several.
let's try and
actually.
answer the questions and then move on.
All right. Joni had several questions. Joni, why don't you unmute and maybe ask one or two of your questions?
All right. The first one, because you referenced Mastodon and people not porting, he said there is no algorithm. I'm not sure if you meant it the way it came across, because if you don't have an algorithm, who chooses what you see on your news feed, especially if you're not tech savvy to adapt it, and Twitter didn't do that. And my second question, you could actually answer in copulation with that. For those people who had an issue with the character limitations of Twitter, and who are not big on the reading of text, other platforms offer video formatting. How much of that will be incorporated into Bluesky?
Right now, you can post videos. They are limited to 1 minute, and I forget what the exact file size limit was. But it's partly because they are operating on a shoestring, and don't have a lot of money coming in. So they're trying to keep the infrastructure expense of running the whole thing down by having a relatively tight limit. Now there are virtues in brevity, and so the short posting service, and the length of posts is what, 300 characters. And so it is the sort of thing where I find it kind of ridiculous when people try and write a whole book or a whole essay, and they have to string together a thread of 300 posts in order to tell that story. At some point, I think you're using the medium wrong. It would make more sense to go off to your blog and write a blog post. And I say that because I've got a blog and I write blog posts. But use the social platform to tease that other piece of content. And that's kind of the way Twitter originally worked. I think if you buy the subscription, you can now write really long posts. Um, and again, I'm not sure it's really correct for the medium. But if you never enjoyed Twitter like it used to be, you probably won't enjoy Bluesky. There are some interesting characteristics, like the topical feeds, the science feed. There are things that I find attractive that are different, and it's still early. Other stuff may come along, but as of right now, if you really hate that format of very text-based social media, this might not be for you. Do we have one more?
It's almost 8:35 now for table
Okay.
topics.
Well,
Probably.
let us wrap there. I will post a couple of resources in the chat. And I apologize for being long-winded, but I hope you've found something interesting in here.
I guess maybe it might be back to me. Thank you very much, David. That was very interesting. I think we got a lot of good information out of it. I have heard rumors to the effect that we're now going to proceed to table topics. However, we are also playing a game tonight, which is Let's Keep Secrets from the Toastmaster. I do not know if we're going to have table topics. I do not know. I see Marianne Grady is raising her hand. She might be volunteering. I'm going to make the assumption that she is. I'm going to turn it over to you, Marianne. Take it away. But you are muted.
I said, thank you, Jim, and welcome everybody. I'm so happy to see you on this last meeting of the year. So we're keeping it holiday themed since that's the season right now. And this section, table topics, is probably one of the skills that you can develop, and it will help you in your regular life, not just your speaking life. And what I mean by that, did you ever have that feeling where somebody walked away and go, oh, I wish I said that? Because it's like after the fact and you had time to think about it. But impromptu speaking, your responses should be 2 to 3 minutes. No, 1 to 2 minutes, excuse me. And I am going to just call randomly on people who hopefully don't have a role already. And you'll get what I mean after the first couple people. And I will call upon a couple of our guests. So let's see. Asil, can you, oh, I lost my questions. Oops. Sorry. Oh my goodness, I'm having a little trouble here.
What about that stressful question that you were asking in our pre-meeting? Let's start with.
Well, I could ask that to some people who weren't here earlier. So Asil, you weren't here at the very beginning when we were going through our intros, but the question we asked everybody was to tell us your strategies for managing stress during the holiday season.
I'm not stressing at all right now because we are in New Zealand and we don't have friends yet. And my family is far. So it's quiet here and it's summertime, but the city is decorated and it feels nice, especially feeling that it's unusual that Christmas and New Year season, it's so warm here. And I learned about Christmas when we were in America, and one like vivid moment was buying a gift for a dog of our neighbors. So I said, please don't let anyone in Kazakhstan that I'm buying a gift, because I raised in the Soviet Union, and the experience with dogs had been different, limited their role as a guards. So no curated pet food aisles or clothes for them. So it was very interesting to learn that pets in United States were treated differently. So that was vivid experience that I had when I learned about Christmas.
Well,
but the dog was happy, very happy. So every time
my daughter-in-law is from Panama, and she was shocked that I let my dog sit on the couch. Like they treat dogs like out in the yard, never come in, and I just that's not me at all. But in any case, thank you for that, Asil. Now, Graham, if you could invite 3 people, living or dead, to a holiday dinner, who would they be and why?
Madam Toastmasters, most welcome guests. This is a question that comes up fairly often, of course. If you could invite 3 people living or dead, who would make? And the interesting thing is, you could invite 3 people that you really want to know something about. You could, for example, invite famous or semi-famous characters that you really want to know more information about. Some of you in this club have heard me, for example, speak of Ida Pfeiffer, a woman who was one of the world's first travel bloggers, who blew her inheritance left by her husband, she was a widow, and went traveling around the world and then wrote about it. Now, I would love to meet her. That would be somebody that I'd love to meet. Perhaps I'd like to meet somebody about whom I know absolutely nothing, so that I could learn a little bit about them. And there are a million people, not only in the world today, in fact, there are 6 billion people in the world today about whom I know 2/3 or 3/4 of absolutely diddly squat. But you can multiply that by however many there are. And that would be interesting. But you know what would be really, really interesting, and it relates to the stress of holiday periods that you're talking about? I'd like to invite 3 people who genuinely loathe each other and just sit back and watch them. I've been to American Thanksgiving dinners where not everybody liked each other, and they were all members of the same family. Imagine if you could do it with people who genuinely, genuinely loathe each other. The entertainment value, just sit there and eat the popcorn and have fun. That would be who I'd invite to my holiday dinner. Madam Topics Master.
Well, you cracked me up with that one. All righty, so Sherry, can you tell me what is your favorite holiday movie and why?
Thank you so much for that question. My favorite movie that I like to watch during the holidays, I love The Sound of Music. It is totally unrelated to any holiday, but that movie for some reason comes on during the holiday. And I love it. I love musicals. The movie is just a wholesome movie. There's no, well, there is, we're at the towards like the end where they were running away. And but I just love the music. I love the singing. I love the children. I just love everything about that movie. But and the one thing about that movie, whenever that movie comes on, I can be channel surfing. If I happen to see that movie, it could be in the middle and I will stop to watch it. But I find that movie, it does come on a lot during the holiday season, sometimes at the start of the new year. It's my all-time favorite. I really, really dislike that movie. I actually made my son watch it when he was younger, quite a bit. Like every time I'm watching it, he's sitting with me. I'm like, hey, come and watch this movie with me. So it can be part of his childhood the way it was part of mine, because I started watching that movie as a child. Again, my favorite movie, which is not necessarily a holiday movie, is The Sound of Music, and I like to watch it when it comes on during the holidays. Back to you, Marianne.
Oh, thanks, Sherry. I like that movie too. Now, Andrei Smolenko, what is one thing you look forward to every holiday season?
He said he was leaving. I thought I saw that in the chat.
Oh, well, I did not see that, so let me call upon someone else. Toastmaster Asaya, are you there?
Yes.
I don't know if you heard the question. What is one thing you look forward to every holiday season?
Thank you. The one thing that I look every holiday season is going to my house and having food that is made by my mother I am being traveling from quite so long. I think it's been 2 years I visited her. She's feeling sick, so I'm just waiting for holidays to start. I really hope I could visit her. That is one thing that every holiday I want to do that. It's not happening all the time, but that is always there in my list.
Well, I can understand that one, and we hope that you get your wish.
Thank you.
So let's see. Jerry R. What is a unique holiday tradition that your family has? Jerry? Is she gone? Okay, I'm gonna have to start looking on the screen here for people. Is there anyone who doesn't have a role tonight?
Hello,
Yeah,
this is Jay. Do you have a topic for me?
I do. Let's see. What is your favorite holiday memory from your childhood? Sorry about that.
Okay, well, whenever I'm on vacation, we would always love to go our native place where we can meet our grandparents. I would always love to cherish the time and the days spent with my grandparents because my grandparents taught me the value of real bonding, family's importance, and whatnot. And and most importantly, my grandmother is someone who's actually very courageous, and she inspired me to be the courageous man, I would say, because she always says me to fight against the evil, to face the challenges in order to learn something value from them. Because I'm very connected to my grandmother. I'm very close to my grandmother, and spending time with her and spending time with nature, especially in my native, makes me feel makes me feel more alive. And apart from that, it helps us gain resilience to bounce back from any stress that we go through. So yeah, definitely it would be spending time with my grandparents, especially in my native. So thank you so much, and back to you, ma'am.
Oh, that's a very sweet memory. Thank you. Now, I think at this point, I'm just going to wish you all a happy holiday. And I hope that you just get to do and see everybody that you want to. And it's a time to be grateful and happy. And so I hope that if you can, you are. Um, I'm going to pass it back to Jim Barber, our Toastmaster, sorry.
Well, you just might regret that, Marianne, because as Toastmaster, I don't have anything else to do except return control back to our president, which is you. So
Oh,
congratulations, you got it again.
okay, well, that's easy. We'll just start to visit with our guests then, if that's okay. I thought you still had some timing and
Nope, I don't
counting.
think so.
Okay, no problem.
Nope, we had no other roles, so ask our guests.
All righty, well, guests, we'd like to just check in with you and see what you thought of tonight's meeting. And if anyone is interested in joining us, joining the club, you reach out to me and I will be happy to take your information to our Vice President of Membership. So, Toastmaster Asaya, what did you think of tonight's meeting?
It's a different experience for me. I am a Toastmaster from I actually joined 2 years before 2022, and I think I have not seen such meeting till date. because I have seen Blue Sky, we have discussed a lengthy time, I will say. We will not have such long discussions. Even for the knowledge session in my club, I belongs to area G2, and in my club, actually, we will have a knowledge session maybe for 25 to 30 minutes with 5 minutes of Q&A. But today, I think we have taken more than 45 minutes, is what I noticed. But yes, I'm seeing the crowd. I mean, the members, there are a lot of members present. When I joined, it was many more people, but now 15. But I think that's a good strength. That also because end of the year, people
Yeah.
will be moving in and out. But still, I feel like, this was a good session. And seeing the Q&A and all, a lot of them have the idea about Blue Sky. But for me, I think it is the first time. Yes, Twitter and all other platforms I'm aware of. For me, it was a idea about something that is existing which I'm not aware of. So it is quite helpful to me.
Well, we're very happy you were able to join us tonight. Let's see. Marie Claude, can you tell us what you thought about tonight's meeting?
Oh, I've never seen such organized and well-oriented meeting. I've learned a lot and I wish to come back. I
Well,
will.
you can
I
come back
will definitely.
anytime. Our next meeting will be a speechathon, so it'll be different than tonight's meeting. And
Right.
it will be on January 6th if you'd like to join us. So just go online and RSVP for it. Thank you, though. Those are very nice remarks.
You're welcome. And I thank you all too.
Jay, what did you think of tonight's meeting?
Well, today I would say it was a great meeting, loaded with a lot of insightful sessions, and all the speakers were eloquent. And yeah, online presenters has become one of the most favorite Toastmasters club on my bucket list, I would say. And I'm looking forward to learning new things from you all. Thank you so much for having me here, Marianne.
Well, we enjoyed having you and thank you for participating in table topics tonight. Marlene, how about you? What did you think of tonight's meeting?
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. I joined pretty late, unfortunately, and so I only caught the Q&A session, a part of it, but I certainly enjoyed the table topics. I thought they were very much to the point, and the answers were interesting. Quite a diverse, I believe, club, and I look forward to coming again and visiting with you. And I wish everybody, those of you who celebrate Christmas, a beautiful one. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming and we hope to see you again.
Certainly. Thank you.
Now, well, I'm going to wrap it up right now because we are done and we're a couple minutes early. So I'd like to see if anyone else who's a member has any comments about the meeting.
Not about the meeting per se, but I did want to say something to the members who are still here and to our guests. I've just come back off a cruise. Now, coming back off a cruise is not anything particularly extraordinary. Lots of people have been cruising. But the thing is, I've just come back off a cruise where I was effectively being paid to deliver lectures to passengers on board the ship. I didn't get any cash in hand, but I didn't pay for the cruise either. So it's a great gig. I was thinking as I was delivering those speeches and having to deal with some of the things that were going wrong, I was thinking how much I value my membership of Toastmasters in general, but of this club in particular, for learning how to deal with those technical snafus that go wrong when I'm talking to 150, 200, 300 people and things just don't go the way they're supposed to. Thank you, online presenters, for allowing me to be a member. Thank you for allowing me to develop as a speaker. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to cruise around the South Pacific and, if everything goes according to plan, to cruise from Australia to Hawaii in the first half of next year for free with the skills that I've learned through this club and clubs like it. So on that note, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus for the rest of us, however you celebrate. Enjoy, and thank you for giving me joy.
I was looking for a Hawaii to Australia and New Zealand.
Oh,
I was just shopping the cruises, and I don't know if I'm planning it yet because I still am unable to walk, but I
the
was
one,
like,
the one that
that
I'm,
would-
the one that I bid for yesterday is in fact that that exact cruise in reverse: Australia, New Zealand, French Polynesia, and then Hawaii. Oh yeah, well, 21 nights. Yeah, looking forward.
Did you see what Jim and Chris Gold are doing?
Yes, they're on the whatever the ship that's doing the 4 years around the world. Yeah, half their.
Oh, wow.
They're considering buying a cabin. So it's like a timeshare where you just live on the cruise ship for some period of time. So
a couple of my internet friends are on that the Odyssey, and they've signed up for 4 years with the expectation that they'll sign up for another 4 at the end of that. Yeah. Cool.
Time.
Yeah, well, look, I
I've
got to say,
never
I
heard
did
of that
25 nights on a
before.
cruise ship once, and that was long enough. Thank you very much. So, yeah.
Well, I had friends who were moving and their new house wasn't ready, and that's what they did. They took back-to-back cruises, like a lot of them. That
Right.
took a long time.
the,
And they said
the
it was
Golds
cheaper
haven't
than
committed to it
regularly.
yet. They're just they're checking it out. I mean, and, they do have this story of having spent a couple of years traveling around the U.S. in an RV. So they've actually had that experience of continuous travel. But
Traveling
They
in an
are
RV,
real adventurers.
traveling in an RV, traveling on a cruise ship. I know which one I'd choose.
yeah.
On
Okay,
that,
everybody.
I'm going to pull the pin. Sorry, go on.
Just say what you want.
No, I was just going to say, I have to pull the pin. Thank you, everybody. Hope that your 2025 has everything that you could possibly want, and we'll meet you in that in only 2 weeks or thereabouts, I believe.
And a subtle reminder, Online Presenters is hibernating mainly because the Vice President of Education has decided that she will be hibernating. So if you don't hear from me until it's January, happy whatever you celebrate. I'm with you. Have fun. And if you're like me and we're hibernating, I'll see you in hibernation.
Okay, well, happy hibernation.
Johnny, before you go, I just want to give you
Merry
some good
Christmas.
news because you were worried about the different clocks and the different time zones. It has came out today that the incoming president wants to get rid of all the time switching, wants to just keep it at one time. That's it.
I heard and I cheered. I was like, yeah, that will be awesome. Let's have tax on the Monday when it turns over, but we're gonna see if that one well, you know what, reduce our tax in one way, give more in another. I guess that's about how you balance things out, maybe. Yeah.
Is that time about 1930? Well, anyway.
I think he's turning back time to before daylight savings time started.
Is it no savings time, or we're not going to have different time zones? Everybody's going to be in the same time zone.
No, it's no daylight savings
just getting
time
rid of
that
the
I saw.
daylight savings time, just
okay.
standard time.
Yeah, but I would still have the time zones to deal with, just not the switch.
Yeah.
Well, we could make everybody in the same time zone.
That wouldn't work because I have associating with you guys from all over. I know that California is in the dark when the other side, let's see, Washington, New York, that side, it's morning. So it wouldn't be funny for it to be like 12 p.m. when you're just getting daylight in California. So I get the reason.
These are just implementation details.
Details.
Yeah.
But I like the no daylight savings time.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Excellent.
Okay, then.
Happy holidays,
All
everybody. Have a
right.
good one. See you
Merry
next year.
Christmas. Bye.
Merry
Um,
Christmas.